Hello, I'm Somi Arian. I'm a tech philosopher and the founder of Impeak. My guest on today's podcast is Tim Walther, who runs Volkswagen Group's initiatives to come into the Metaverse and Web3. It's always fascinating to see what large brands are doing to come into the space and hear more about their strategies. This was a very informative conversation that I'm sure you will enjoy. So Tim, thank you so much for being here. I am really curious to hear what you guys are trying to do with Web3, how you're bringing such a massive brand into Web3. And maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about who you are, what it is that that you do, and we will take it from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, it's an absolute pleasure, Somi. It's an honor to be speaking with you. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Tim Walther. I am group manager for Metaverse and NFT for the Volkswagen Group. So as probably a lot of the listeners know, the Volkswagen Group stands, of course, for the brand Volkswagen, but I'm just as close to the brand Volkswagen as I am to Porsche, Bentley, Lamborghini, Cupra, Skoda, Audi, Porsche. I did say already, I think I always forget one of these brands because I think we're more than 10 brands so far. And lots of our automotive brands that I've just been mentioning have been exploring or have been starting things in the space in the past year or even before that. And my role is from a higher perspective, from the group level perspective, to really connect our brands on the projects that we are doing at the moment and where we want to go together and how we can endeavor or basically voyage into the metaverse or into Web3 projects better if we join forces. Because this is one of the things that I'm seeing a lot is there is no book for Web3, metaverse, NFT. Everything we know, basically, we know from projects that are happening at the moment or that have happened in the past month. And you're looking on to brand NFTs, you're looking at NFT collections, you're looking at metaverse endeavors of certain brands or not even brands, other things. And you're trying to find out what worked, what is actually bringing the customer value, and what is it doing for the brand. And this is something that we have been doing for nearly a year now together in the group. So we're sharing a lot of our experiences very transparently across the group. And I'm basically I'm the glue in between. And I am having an eye on if this brand is doing something well, I'm telling the other brand, hey, you should talk to each other, or maybe we should all partner with this kind of partner because we all have the same problem and we want to solve it or something like that. So it's finding synergies, helping the brands on their projects and basically enabling them to build professional products for our customers at the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So when you say you look at other brands and what they're doing in the NFT space, I wonder to what degree you are looking at, NFT native or Web3 native, communities, because the Web3 culture is fundamentally different. And I would say the best way that you can learn from it, it's by actually actively being part of those communities. So I was wondering, as somebody who is, in charge of bringing such a big brand into the metaverse, what NFTs do you have? Like, what's your wallet like? What does your wallet look like?
Shall I expose my wallet? I'm not 100% sure if I should expose. Well, obviously, I've bought a lot of NFTs in the past, but not for investment reasons. It's simply, and it's, as you said, you need to understand Web3, you need to understand the culture in order to build something that is relevant for the community and relevant for our customers, and in order to understand everything. And I find it quite interesting on how the things are evolving. And obviously, I didn't buy a Bored Ape, I can say that much. And I bought a few profile pictures, some of the larger collections that I really loved. I hope you understand that I'm maybe not tell the names here due to financial advice or whatever. But yeah, I have a few.
I just want to know which communities you are looking at, right? Like that's quite interesting to me. Like, for example, if you are if you really want to kind of fully understand the Web3 space, there are a few key communities. And what our community is one of the ones that is constantly, like recently, it keeps coming up as being one of those. So one of them is Proof. I don't know how much you're familiar with.
Yeah.
One of them is, as you said, Yuga Labs, at the Bored Apes. There is like the Zen Academy. He's doing some amazing stuff in Peak.
Absolutely.
We are building a really big educational platform for Web3 education, and there's our Genesis Pass is also, from a marketing perspective, we help our pass holders, our Genesis Pass holders, with their projects as well. So there, and then there's Admit One. So there are some really key communities that are really important for builders, or in the Web3 space, we use the term builders, people who are creating projects, right? Project creators. And these are some of them. So I was just wondering whether you are connected to these projects and how you are looking at building partnerships.
Yeah, we have a few people in our group that are mainly looking at the community and the Web3 community a lot more. So we are also having some real life events with them. For example, our brand at Skoda are doing a lot now with some great communities down in Prague, in the Czech Republic, with some Bored Apes, for example, but also with other communities. So they're looking a bit deeper into it. I personally tend to look more at brand NFTs for my knowledge to learn how is the Web3 community working with brands and how and vice versa, right? And how is it working? Are Web3 communities open for brands? And what is it that they want to find out about brands? Where do they actually want to be involved, and so on? So this is rather why I spend my time. Of course, time is limited, and on Discord, we all know we could spend 24 hours, 7 days a week in there.
That's my life, basically.
Exactly. So I'm rather focusing on brand NFTs and on the large profile picture collections that I've been involved with from the start on. Yeah.
Nice. And with the brands, which ones do you think are doing things right?
I think it's all about like raising the bar again and again, right? It's we all, I think, have seen what Nike has been doing and Adidas have been doing in November, basically last year. It's almost been a year maybe now. So that was for me game changing to find out and to see, a large brand can do this, then it is of big relevance for us as well. So this opened a lot of doors, I think, for a lot of brands to open the discussion of that the Web3 space is also interested in it, and that brands and the Web3 space can work together and that it can be exciting. So I think Adidas, especially phase one, was interesting for me because they're so, in a way, a similar German brand with similar structures where you have the same kind of laws and things that you have to overcome, not overcome, but you have to solve things. So this was interesting for me, and of course, what Nike and Artifact is doing, the involvement and the things that they put in and how they invested so early. And I think that was really, really nice. And then there's so many other great examples. I mean, what Tiffany's did was great for their end part, right? Because of it fits the brand, it fits the punks community, worked well together with the CEO from Tiffany's. It was a good story again. But I also like interesting ideas like Lacoste is doing, for example, with basically creating a DAO. The next month, the next years will show what projects really have a long-lasting impact and what companies meant it really, really seriously over a long time and have a clear roadmap on what they want to do. But I think we've seen so many interesting cases. Also, what Time is doing, for example, with their communities. That's a great example as well. Yeah.
One of the things when I look at brands that are coming into the space, let me just make a note also of, I want to make a comparison to social media. But one of the things that strikes me when I look at brands bringing, coming into the space, a lot of times I feel like rather than coming into the space and bringing their audience with it. They come to the space and they want to tap into the audience that's already there. And the problem with that is that the audience that's already there is fairly small. Like there are only like 40, 50,000, active wallets right now in the bear market. And that audience is a little bit exhausted with options. Like there's Web3 native brands that are trying to sell to them. There are the new brands coming in that are trying to sell to them. So I think for a brand that is coming into the space, rather than trying to focus too much on selling to the people who are already there, the most important thing they can do is to try and bring their own audience in it. So that requires the brand to actually educate their audience about the blockchain, about Web3. So what are your thoughts on that? On how you think you would be able to do that?
Yeah, I think there's two kinds of projects at the moment, and they are still a bit split up, right? There is obviously the projects that are aiming 100% on Web3 natives and with wallets, with crypto and everything, of course, and it fits the space and it needs to be that way, right? And this opens more possibilities to work together and to have a Web3 culture, which is interesting for brands in the end. And interesting, I'm always saying it's interesting for brands. If I say it's interesting for brands, it's probably interesting for the customer and for customer value and how they can interact and how they can also be involved with the brand, right? And this is for me a fundamental thing that is important about Web3, that brings us together closer, right? It brings the brands and it brings the customer closer together. So this is one part. And the other part is obviously also an intention from brand side to bring the audiences that they have into the space. We have, with our automotive brands, for example, we have a few brands that have more than, 30 or 40 million social media followers, right? They are followers. They are not really a community as it is, because it's simply not working with social media to have a community with 30 million people. But with an NFT community, if you bring 1% or 5% of these people into the space and you build a valuable proposition for them, then it can be quite interesting. And as you say, the tricky point is Web3 native projects are really tricky still to do, and the UX and how you create a wallet dealing with crypto needs a lot of education. And I think that's why my feeling at the moment is you have to decide for projects. You have to say either we go into Web3 native communities, or we do it the other way. And this is, well, with things like Starbucks did, for example. Reddit onboarded a lot of people, and this can be something that can be more interesting maybe for some of the brands that want to bring masses into the space. So I think there's a space for both projects, and I also hear what you're saying, that the Web3 native community is maybe a bit fed up with projects. I can see that as well. I still think that brands, big brands, can have a meaning for people, and there are brands that people love, right, and that they want to be engaged with. And this is why brand NFTs usually work quite well, because people can trust in them. In a world in Web3 or NFT communities where you're not 100% sure, oh, this is a new project, I haven't heard from them since 3 days, and now I'm investing thousands of dollars into it. This can be tricky, and sometimes people have been fooled. And if done right, normally people should have more trust in brand NFTs as well, because they have a reputation of 50 or 100 years to lose if they don't do it right, and if they don't keep their promise, and if they don't fulfill the roadmap. So this is why I still think, even in a market like that, brand NFTs have maybe a good meaning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So when you say bringing your customers in, one of the things that is, I would say, is slightly different in the Web3 space we don't think of our NFT holders as customers. You know, we don't even think of them as an audience. So like, for example, when I think of my, you know, we have an audience, which is the people who don't have our NFTs. And then the people who have our NFTs, we call them holders rather than customers. And the reason is that I think holders is not only short for token holders, is in a way, it's also short for stakeholders. Now, I know that from the view, from a legal point of view, you know, that this is not fully defined yet. And I think partly this is because the legal framework is not built for the Web3 space. So it's not about Web3 adapting to the legal framework, but the legal framework needs to adapt to Web3. And when you think about the difference between a holder and a customer, especially if they hold an NFT that is tradable, you have a completely different proposition, where people can, you know, they expect the value of that that token to hold itself while they're also using that product. So this is such a different mindset to what we had in Web 2, which was like you pay for the product or service, and then that's it, you paid for it, and you either use it or you don't use it, it's up to you, but you don't get your money back. Whereas in Web3, people hope to at least get some of their money back if they ever want to exit that you know, community or that brand. So how does this sit with you as somebody who comes from, you know, that Web2, you know, product-based background?
No, this is exactly what I meant at the beginning with the potential of Web3. And I have a LinkedIn post on that with a graph where we're showing also something that we have. Yeah, what are the audiences or that we have as brands? And this is one thing is that can be shareholders. Of course, there's customers, and there's things like social media fans. And now you have something in the middle, which is very, very exciting because it is new, and people, they might not be a shareholder, and I'd never call it a shareholder like that, because there is a shareholder for the share, right? But and this is for the company, right? But we're speaking of a brand here, and why can you not be a part of a brand, being able to decide on decisions, on designs, on also the profiting from it when the brand is really becoming stronger, right? And this is exactly what I mean where I actually hope that we get a lot more people into the Web3 thing than anything else, because there is the full potential to create something that we haven't had in the past, right? A lot of the ideas of now having huge audiences, onboarding them maybe with custodial wallets and so on, it's great. But it's not the 100% solution at the moment, right? It's missing something. And even if sometimes it misses the financial aspect, that people don't really have to invest, that they get it for free. That can be interesting. You can do very interesting things. But if you're really involved, and if you're believing in the brand, that you are saying, I want to, I'm paying a few €1,000 to be part of this, and I'm able to attend real life events, I'm able to work with the brands, I'm closer to the brand, then there is more potential. And I think there will also in the future be both sides.
When you think about social media and how brands adapted to social media over the past 20 years, I think for a lot of brands, it took a very long time. Maybe it took them like 10, 15 years to get their head around how to use social media. When I think of the speed of technological advancement and the way that the culture is shifting, I think maybe you could say that if it took about 15 to 20 years for social media to proliferate in a way, like I'd say 15 years roughly is a good estimate of how long it has taken. Then for blockchain technology and for NFTs, this new space, the Web3 space, I would say is probably about 5 years. It's going to be about 5 years. So the the speed is increasing. How do you see brands, adapting and considering how long it took them? Like I made a documentary called The Millennial Disruption. I don't know if you've seen it, 2018 that came out. And at the end of it, I said that if you can't get your head around social media now, what are you going to do? And blockchain technology is here, and blockchain technology is here now. So do you see potentially a process of elimination of a lot of brands again, just like it happened with social media initially?
I fully agree with you. It took brands a very long time to adapt to social media and to find out why and how it can be relevant. And this is what I'm telling to my friends and my colleagues as well a lot is look at how social media has evolved and what is the role of the brand in there, right? Like at the beginning, we started with banners, then you're starting with influencers, with customer engagement. But in the end, in social media, you don't really have full community. And now you have new tools. You have the ability to have more connected communities. I guess the question will be, where is the customer or the audience, and what do they expect? And this is depending on the project. I wouldn't say every brand needs a Discord channel at the moment. I wouldn't. There is projects that fully make sense because you want to have this interchange and you want to have the community there, but there will also be projects where you don't have it. And I'm also talking to some Web3 people that are in Bored Apes and so on, and they're saying, honestly, I don't have the time to follow up my Discords anymore. I have like more than 20 of them. I can't do it all day, right? And is this the final solution? I don't know. It will be interesting to see what's happening in the next year. Where will we shift? Will it be the early adopters that stay in Discord and it stays more or less flat or the same, right? And all people that are coming into the space are maybe not using Discord, but they are coming from brand NFTs like Starbucks and so on, but they're not using Discord, right? And so it might stay flat, or will actually Discord increase when more people come into the space? I don't see it happening at the moment, to be honest. I asked my LinkedIn followers 6 months ago, what is the Web3 channel, or what is the channel for brand NFTs that you would like to have to get information from, if you could only choose one? And there it was still more or less 50% for Twitter and for Discord. I think it was 45 to 55 or something like that. And I asked the same question again, I think last week, and it was a different picture. And was I think we had about 35 people that are saying Discord is their main choice, and more or less the rest was Twitter. So that changed as well, and this Twitter, will be interesting.
Yeah, Twitter does a different thing though. Twitter does the headlines, and then Discord is more like deep dive.
Absolutely, and it will be. That's the thing. What will the projects be? Will you have projects where you want to have community and where you want to have exchange? Of course, then you need Discord. But if you are having another NFT where you basically sometimes need to put information out, then it's Twitter, right? And I don't see that Discord is the final solution. I don't think Twitter is enough for community either. I think there needs to be something else, or some evolvement where people can actually have virtual communities in a UX friendly way. And this is what we don't have at the moment. We have also for our brands, or car brands or any other brand, we have communities everywhere. We have people meeting each other on the weekends at Cars and Coffees in Los Angeles. And everyone's going there. Everyone loves the community, and they know like-minded people. I can talk with everyone. That's great working in the real life. None of these brands have managed to bring this kind of community in the digital space. There is NFT project, and that's great. But as I said, the UX of Discord is not for the daily user. It's simply not.
I agree. I think that there's going to be the shift of mindset of understanding that Web3 is about ownership. That basically Web 1 was read, Web 2 was read and write, and Web 3 is, another way I put it is that Web 1 was monologue. Web 2 was a dialogue, and Web 3 is dialogue and ownership, right? So that's the shift of mindset that needs to happen over the next 18 months to 3 years. And I think the UX, like you said, the UX is a little bit lagging, and it's going to take quite some time. Well, I'm so glad that you are on top of this, and you obviously have a great understanding of what's happening in the space. So it's really refreshing to see a big brand like this coming into the space, and I will be closely following what you're doing. So yeah, thank you so much for.
Same on my side. Thank you very much for having me, Somi.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Tim Walther. Be sure to follow him on LinkedIn and keep up with their initiatives at Volkswagen. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe to it on Apple, Spotify, or any other one of your favorite podcast channels. And don't forget to give the 5-star rating and write a review. The full interviews are also available on my YouTube channel, The Somi Arian Show.